What's up, Wisconsin? Welcome back to the Inside Wisconsin Show here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Trevor Thomas, John Anderson, J.A.
Yes.
Is football season, is it back when it's training camp or no? Not yet. Okay.
Training camp's training camp.
Okay.
Until, like I always say, the thing that sticks out to me in training camp is here are the defensive linemen and look how good they are against the turned over trash cans, right? Like I've said that more than once. Like nobody's better against the trash can than Rashawn Gary, from what I can tell, right? So we'll come out of training camp. Everybody's going to look great. Everybody's going to be, which is fine. It's like spring training, right? Taxes are due, but everybody's going to win the pennant. So we come out of that. Every guy can catch. Everybody's running great routes. The guy in 7-on-7 drills, the quarterback is on fire. The defensive ends look great, they can't be stopped. And so it is the time of unbridled optimism. And as you know, I am here to either sit on unbridled optimism or in the case of the other one is go it's not so bad, right? Like I did the other day, I reminded Homer that after the Brewers got whacked in 3 games in New York, that's it. This team is nothing. The streak has ended. We finally got, and I'm like, it's 3 games.
Yeah.
So I like to think that despite being mean as a snake, I'm kind of the middle of the road guy here. So training camp will be great. I don't know that I'm ready to pronounce them as the Super Bowl champs coming out of training camp. But if you can't do it then, when are you going to do it?
Sure. Take it all into dream. Let's dream together.
Sure.
So there's a lot that goes into training camp, obviously, from a football operations standpoint. But I am often curious on the behind-the-scenes stuff when it comes to just the Packers in general. And we try really hard to talk to people with Wisconsin stories. And our guest today, Aaron Popkey, the Director of Public Affairs of the Green Bay Packers, is going to share as much as he possibly can about all things behind the scenes. I'm certain somewhere there is a do's and don'ts. I'm curious on that. I'm curious what the difference is between public affairs and public relations. Is there any? I don't know. But it's all non-football stuff, which I find interesting. So
it is, and yet it is not, right? It's entirely football stuff because it's the entire franchise, right? I kind of look at that. I think there's really 2 kind of things you deal with. You got the football team that plays on Sunday and for those 17 weeks and hopefully some playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. That's the most identifiable thing. But yet you have the entire organization, which is what we're founded on. Everybody goes, where are you from? Green Bay. Oh, that's the Packers, right? That's where he's at. He's LaFleur can handle the team, but then somebody's got to handle the organization and position it and make sure that it lives, season to season and is healthy year to year beyond just the wins and loss record.
And yet one could argue that you, at least here in Northeast Wisconsin, see Aaron Popkey on TV just as much as the football stuff.
There you go. Which is, because somebody's got to get the message out. Somebody's got to let them know we're working, because Bob Harlan can't shake every hand for the sales tax penny. Although I feel like he missed 6. But Aaron, listen, what an interesting story. Here's a guy that has he's a Green Bay kid. Well, he's De Pere. I'm going to ask him where he's from.
Okay.
Because as you know, depending, if you're out and about, you tell people you're from Green Bay. And now, again, we'll get into that. But really, he's as Green Bay as they come, went to Madison, and then to work for this franchise for 30 plus years is really, I think he fits what we like in inside Wisconsin. Absolutely. Yes, here's a person you should know from this state who has an interesting story to tell. And I look forward to diving into it with him.
According to LinkedIn, he's worked at one place, and that's it. And it's the Green Bay Packers. And Cliff Crystal reports to him. All right, lots of information. Let's dive in. Aaron Popkey, the Packers Director of Public Affairs on the Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
The Packers Director of Public Affairs. I think it's important. We're going to find out all the stuff. Aaron Popkey of the Green Bay Packers. Thanks for coming on the Inside Wisconsin Show. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
So I will start like this because we're training camp. It's training camp season. What does the public affairs guy do to help us win a Super Bowl during training camp? Because I pretty much know what Coach LaFleur and the players do. I'm trying to figure out what Aaron Popkey's doing.
It's funny.
Yeah, I'm not in that same realm, which may surprise you, but I'm not afraid to give Coach LaFleur my thoughts. Whether it's third down or whatnot. But no, public affairs at the Packers, our role, my team is we work with various stakeholders. We're doing our external communications on behalf of our business units, media relations, and other stakeholder relations, whether it's elected officials, other civic and regional officials in the world of economic development. We help promote things that are going on here that aren't necessarily football related. So our fan engagement efforts, relationships with our sponsors and activations and marketing efforts that benefit the community, all those types of things, all the neat stuff we've got going on here. Our team helps promote that and let fans know all the different activities we have. And when you want to come and engage the Packers, there's all kinds of ways to do it, whether it's here at Lambeau Field or online or at a game on the road and now games internationally.
Trevor and I were talking about sort of the position and maybe I see it wrong, but help me out. Because I think of the Packers as two things. I think of the football team itself that's playing on Sunday, and then I think of the organization, right? And I feel like you're in charge. Your responsibility is how do I support, protect, and grow like the organization so that it is here and the legacy we think of the Packers is sort of your department.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. And you're right. It's fans are most interested in what goes on the field, the on-field part and the competition, winning games. Our mission is to win championships and provide a great experience. So the winning championships part, we've got all kinds of really talented people that do that. And the rest of us support that in any number of ways. And from our standpoint in communications, we want to make sure people have an understanding of what's going into those, what the organization's putting behind that. So when we're talking about our businesses and those types of things, the revenue standpoint and where do our revenues go? I mean, we do that on this side and telling that story. In fact, we've got our shareholders meeting coming up. So that's going to talk about our finances. And we are so unique, as you both know, being owned by our shareholders. And, we've got no owner that is making sure, there's some profits that are going back to the ownership group. All our profits go right back into the team. So that's a fun story to tell. And then the mission, the winning championships, but also the great experience, that we're investing that money in the stadium and the experience that you have here, whether that's game day or every day, coming to see the Hall of Fame, coming to have go on a stadium tour, all those types of things. So there's so many facets of this unique franchise and what we do on a day-to-day basis. That fans certainly know about, but sometimes they don't know about. So what are we doing to tell that story? And that story's got a lot of unique sidebars to it that's really fun to be a part of.
We joked earlier that your face here in Northeast Wisconsin's on TV just as much as anybody from the football side. You really are out in the public as much as anybody is in terms of the Green Bay Packers face or voice. Growing up, though, here in Northeast Wisconsin, did you ever think that would be your gig for, I don't know, is it 32 years now?
Yeah, well, years wise, this season will be my 33rd. So I started as an intern in 93. So Reggie White and I joined the team the same year. No, I think, and John and we all kind of joke about this. Everybody who's got an interest in football and, whether you grew up in Green Bay or around the state, if you're playing sandlot ball or even some level of organized football, some of the kids dream to play for the Packers someday. And of course I played football and, at some point we all love to think about doing that someday. But to be able to set those on-field dreams aside and get into a career that's allowed me to work here and see the evolution that has gone on here, not only in football overall, pro sports overall. I mean, that's a whole nother subject, how much pro sports has grown, and it's grown as a business and all those things, but just how the Packers have evolved. You know, when I started working here, Lambeau was a game day only facility, the lovable corrugated metal fence that surrounded the field, and what took place with us becoming a year-round destination here at Lambeau with the redevelopment project that was complete in 2003, and the process it took to get that done. And even now, you know, the expansions and renovations and improvements Lambeau's seen in the last decade have been phenomenal. And of course now Titletown, but Lambeau and the Packers have evolved, and me being able to be here in my career and do different types of things along the way, be it PR and communications, and now this more involved stakeholder relations as a career has been fantastic, and really a privilege and an honor to be a part of it and help communicate along the way, but also be a part of our leadership team, making decisions on what we feel is best for the organization, taking us in new areas, evolving what we're doing, improving what we're doing. One of our values is stewardship, and all of us feel we have a role in that, in making what we have now better, but also improving it for the people coming after us and the next generation of fans and those types of things.
Yeah, see, Trev is a pup. Like he doesn't remember when it was just kind of the little building there when 1265 was really, I'm trying to think if it was the Oneida Gate or was where the pro shop was, right? But it was just that little small building, and I don't know, there were like 9 people that worked there, and the roster was 42 people. When you talk about things have changed. But I always tell people the worst question I've ever failed, and I failed in every interview, is where do you see yourself in 5 years? They tell you that, and you're like, there's no way. So if we take you kind of in 5-year increments, like what are some of the things that have been that you've gone through in those 32 years? Because you haven't always been in that office and in that chair.
Yeah, so I started, as I said, in 93. I was, I grew up in De Pere, went to Abbott Penning's High School, which was a predecessor to now it's Notre Dame Academy here in Green Bay. And we had the 3 Catholic high schools that merged. I went to college down in Madison at the University of Wisconsin, journalism program, was trying to figure out my next steps. Got into PR, knew I wanted to do sports PR, and then applied for that first internship in the fall of 93 and was fortunate enough to get it, and took off. Right, I was part-time that semester, got some credits for the internship, but spent the season here, and I was off and running. And one of my very first days, and you guys know this name, Bob Harlan, of course, was our president CEO at the time. I was getting settled in my spot, my desk inside our old library. And Bob came in and said, "Hey, so you're the new intern for PR," and introduced himself. And I said, "Well, that's great, Mr. Harlan. Oh, please call me Bob." I mean, that's one of his things. So we got to talking, and he knew a little bit about me from even before I got there. And so we were talking about Green Bay and high school and UW, and he's a big Marquette guy. I haven't gone there, and just had a really nice conversation. And like all people who meet Bob for the first time, like, holy smokes, this guy's down to earth and really engaging. And he left and he said, "All right, well, good to have you on board, Bucky boy." So Bucky Badger, of course, the University of Wisconsin, he nicknamed me Bucky, and to this day, he still calls me Bucky. So that was my start, just getting started with Bob. But, he had a background in PR. Lee Remmel was my boss, longtime PR director for the Packers, and some other guys who were just really strong to get me started in that role. Was just phenomenal as a young buck getting started in my career. And back then, as you were joking, yeah, there was a little more than 40 people, but there were like 70 full-time employees at the time, and about 4 hallways in our building, you could pretty much run into everybody. And we were doing, we only had football. We didn't have the year-round facility we have now. So it was all about publicizing the team and writing a weekly press release, facilitating interviews. And to be at that time where 93, that was the first year we were back in the playoffs. Ron Wolf, Mike Holmgren, Brett Favre, Reggie White, that returned to prominence was just phenomenal. The experience helped communicate, and as you guys know, it's our role is to bring those people, those stories to the fans, so the fans feel more connected and get more engaged and be a part of that energy. And really, the first 10 years was all football. And then we got into the redevelopment and things changed after that. I've had like 3 different careers here at the Packers. So it's just been a phenomenal experience to have those opportunities.
When you helped set us up with Bob Harlan in the atrium, when we came and did the interview with him, how proud of that. He called you Bucky. So I wasn't sure if that was like something that the public should know about, because maybe that's going to take off now, or at least you were the one that said it and we didn't spill the beans. So thanks for sharing with that.
Yeah, well, and well, you sat down with Bob and you've known of Bob, through the years, just his way of doing things and just his great personality. And yeah, there's other nicknames that he had for people, but yeah, as I said, it was like the first day, and he still calls me that. And there's a couple others here that'll drop that name every now and then. But yeah, it's an honor of sorts, to have that.
So you mentioned that you've had a couple different bosses in a couple different roles, but you've also now had 3 different CEOs. What has that been like for you, and how much has changed in all of those years, from Bob Harlan to Mark Murphy, and now on to the next? Who knows what is it going to be 18 years for Ed Policy? Is that what we learned? Like, Mark was in it for 17 or 18 years, and now Ed's supposed to just take it for 18 years and run with it?
Well, Ed is, I forget when his birthday is, but he's like 54, 55. Yeah. So it'll be in that 15, 16 year range. If he works all the way up until age 70, which our bylaws are when the CEO has to step down. But yeah, just phenomenal people. I mean, Bob, and each of them, I mean, we'll see where Ed goes, but it's a period of change and growth and evolution. And, there's new frontiers out there that we're just diving into with the international program and the Packers jumping in with both feet there. But going back to Bob, the changes he made are well documented. And I came in, in the second year of Mike Holmgren and Brett Favre. And, we're on our way back up. And we've always had a big media core, which you guys know, when back in the day when there were still tons of daily newspapers around, the Packers had one of the bigger media cores in the NFL, even compared to some of the big markets. And I think that surprised a lot of people. So we really had an operation in our team that worked with everyone. But back to the leadership part, there was that transition that Bob saw getting back into success and that huge endeavor of redeveloping Lambeau Field and putting the plan together, and then the referendum and the campaign and getting the laws passed down in Madison to allow us to do that was just tremendous change there. And Bob, was a great leader, but also had this personality that he could go out and do some of the campaigning and the convincing, that story we had to tell of getting this place in the right spot, remaking it for the next generation. Succeeded there. And then bringing Mark Murphy on board and what he brought to the program from his experience really was tremendous, and he was the right guy for the next stage of things. Coming from his background with having played pro football and with Washington and at a championship level, and just the ties that he had with the NFL and his relationship that he talked about with Paul Tagliabue he brought us through this next time of change and period of change with, we had another CBA and the new media deals, just growth as a business. NFL's incredibly fortunate to be popular sport, and that's not by accident. I mean, the league and all the teams do a great job of engaging the fans year round and those types of things. And the national revenue drives the game, and the resources that are available to the clubs and the players and those sorts of things. But what needs to be done at the local level too, and the Packers, without any deep-pocketed owner, need to do well at the local level to make sure all those things that are not covered by the salary cap, those are all competitive things. What you can build as a coaching staff, the support staff, the technology, all the resources you need to put into that. Mark saw us through growth there, expanding and renovating Lambeau Field with the South End and the projects we've done to keep us leading edge fan amenity wise, but also the history and tradition and the aura that Lambeau has as a facility. And then having the vision to do the development with Titletown. That's something that was just on the front end. It was starting to go on around the country with football stadiums and arenas. So often we look back to what the Patriots did around their stadium with Patriot Place, and what we've done at Lambeau is different, and to a little bit smaller scale, of course. But we have teams and colleges come through here that want to see what we've done with this beautiful stadium to keep it leading edge, and then what we've done with the development, nearly 50 acres across the street, to have that be this tremendous complement to what we're doing at the stadium, but also be this neat component for the entire community, and complement a lot of the neat things we have going on in Greater Green Bay. And Mark was, the right guy to lead all those pieces. And, he saw Ted Thompson retire and hired Brian Gutekunst. And then, of course, we've got Matt LaFleur, one of the new great young coaches. Matt's well established and has had great success, and we're excited about the future there. So Mark, had his period of time and evolution, and was a great leader, built consensus and took us there. And now we've got this opportunity with Ed Policy, who, has been here 12, 13 years, knows the league, knows Green Bay, and this opportunity that sits in front of the Packers in the NFL now with this next step. So it's been exciting times for the league, and little old Green Bay keeps punching above our weight when it comes to pro sports in the NFL. So using our little boxing metaphor there for you fellas.
Perfect. Yep. Boy, there were so many things in those answers that I jotted down that I'm like, okay, I don't know how I get them all into one question or not make it 10 questions. First off, I've been to Patriot Place. It turns out disaster, because it's a long way to go to buy a shoe store, right? I think the Packers in putting it together has been much smarter in things that you can do there. Patriot Place is sort of out of the way to get down to that stadium. And like I said, you're going to go there and that's a long way to go for dinner, or it's a long way to go for a shoe store that you can find in a lot of other places. We'll get past them. The one that intrigues me most, and you said earlier, back when the stadium was the corrugated green thing, right? And I was fortunate enough that I grew up just down the street there. The Hogarths lived, right? So Trev, I don't know if you know, but Grandpa Hogarth built the stadium, and then the construction company was, I'm my sister's same age, but I'm roughly the same age as Bob and then his dad. And anyway, so I think of that stadium, and I think of what's been done to it. Okay, so Trevor is, again, not in the age that you and I, that we drove by, and I always tell people it kind of was just this green bucket of bolts, and you never had this frozen tundra feel about the place.
I remember it.
Every day.
Yeah, I was alive.
I imagine it's to some degree like people in Madison drive by the Capitol and go, yeah, there's the Capitol. And the rest of us go, my God, there's the Capitol, right? We spend time looking at it. But now that it is this thing, this year-round deal, and all what it looks like, what do you think of every day when you go to work and you look at that stadium, whether it's what it means or that you get to work? But when you work every day and you see that place now, What goes through your mind when you pull in every day and go to work?
Well, the special place that it is. I mean, I mean, like all of us, we've got our days where it's maybe not. You've got some things on your plate, or maybe you're in a bad place from like, oh, I got to get this done, or boy, these people are questioning this, and then you pull up and you're like, well, it's Lambeau Field. I think I can work through that. And John, I'd be curious your thoughts, but like you saw this place and maybe you hadn't been in here yet, but from the outside, it was that metal and then just the beams and the concrete that you could kind of see, over the fence. And as a kid, when I hadn't been here, I'd be like, well, what? That's a football stadium? And you just couldn't comprehend what you saw on TV. And then I think the magic back then is when you got inside in that bowl and you're like, oh, now I get it. And that's where the magic was. And then when we redeveloped it, we've got this beautiful exterior now. And Bob and the others back then, they wanted to make it look a little like warehouse district. I know we visited Camden Yards and that sort of thing. It gave it that beautiful exterior. So now walking up, you don't necessarily have to imagine that magic that's in the bowl and on the playing field. The whole package is right there now. So as a kid, I remember those early memories driving by and not having had the opportunity to go to the game yet, but I just couldn't marry the two. And then you realized what it was. And it truly was that sort of build up, imagine that magic's when I get inside. And now it's even easier to see that. And when for so many people, there's the real magic on the outside. And you've seen this when you come up on an off day. There's somebody who gets out of their car and they're taking a picture for the first time. And you walk by, you say, oh God, it's my first time here at Lambeau Field and excited to be here. And every now and then I'll stop and say, I couldn't help but overhear you say that, where are you in from? And then the story goes.
Yeah. There is something to the bowl part. And I remember the same thing because I'd seen Yankee Stadium 100 times on the outside, even taking a train by. But there's something about walking through, the gate in Yankee Stadium and you see the grass for the first time. You go, oh my gosh. Like there is something about seeing that expanse in the goalposts and the lines. You go, oh, that's real. Like that's kind of the goosebump moment, I think, when people walk through that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think so too.
I think, and yeah, a little bit like I said before, whether it's the parking lot or the atrium or on game days, I've got several things I do, but inevitably run into someone or overhear somebody just talk about this first time experience. And that's the magic. It's, we've got our mission, vision, and values. And I spoke a little bit about that earlier, but one of our things that we've got inside the building, when we revamped our mission, vision, and values, we also wanted to make sure we had some everyday vision of that. So throughout the building, we've got some of those. And one of the posters we have is today is somebody's bucket list day. And that is just a great reminder of how people feel about this place. And that goes back to, coming to work here every day. You could have one of those days lined up, but then you see somebody who's experiencing the joy for the first time. And on the one hand, it's hard to imagine in some respects, like, boy, it's pretty weird to have something that can give somebody that much joy and expectation. But on the other hand, that's the magic of sports, just that energy that's around it everywhere. But then you marry that with a 100+ year organization that, has all kinds of tradition and rich history, and that all goes together to provide that experience, the expectation on the front end, and then that experience when they actually get here.
Segment 1 done, and I feel like we've barely scratched the surface. There's a few other years we got to cover here, so we're going to do that next. Stick with us. Aaron Popkey from the Green Bay Packers on the Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
So I gave up my Festival Foods Gas Rewards card. I was getting in too much trouble for using the points in moments where the points shouldn't be used. So my privileges have been revoked.
I feel like on more than one occasion, you have related stories about this that have shown that you are irresponsible when it comes to the point.
Valid.
Right? Like, and listen, I'm trying to be a bro and here with you, but no, I feel like I'm kind of with a man on this one. I feel like, yeah, you should probably not. This is probably in the long run. I know there's some temporary pain for you, and there's probably a little, but listen, it could be worse. And you can't mansplain this one away. I kind of feel like I knew this was coming. And now that it's here, I empathize with you.
Thanks.
But obviously she's correct.
So here's the story. We're in Festival Foods. We're buying, I think, a bunch of things for the Pink Flamingo weekend a few weeks back. Yep. And we get to the checkout, and I go to check out. It was $74 or something like that.
Good for you.
I check out. I'm all set. I look to my right, and she's got her Festival Foods Gas Rewards card in her hand. She goes, "Are we not using this anymore?" And I was like, "Wow, yeah, we are. I just don't. I always remember.
Just didn't. Yeah.
So therefore,
that feels bad. You should be allowed to miss one. Like you can't.
That's cute. You think that's the first time I missed? I don't think so.
All right, well,
so that's why. That's where my privileges were revoked.
Well, that's when I call you a dope. But if you miss more than one, then you're being doped.
It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Fastfoods.com.
Then you don't use them judiciously either. That's the other part.
I was using the points, but not holding up my end of the deal to help obtain them. Thus, my ability to use them has since been taken away. That could be worse. Go to fastfoods.com.
Hopefully this is a lesson for you.
Yeah, thanks. Learning. Now I got to go back in there and go to the service counter and be like, "Hey, dope here forgot to put these on our little card." And then they'll fix it for me. I promise they do that. Fastfoods.com/Packers. It's training camp. Go there and get all the things that you need to do your tailgates. Go Snack Go is right on the top. I shouldn't do this when I'm hungry. I'm looking over at their website right now. Like Festival Foods salad, potato salad container. It's £1. I got to go, John. I'm starving. And this is, and I remember Berry Bliss tray.
You're like when it comes to this spot in Festival Foods, you are like a cat chasing the light on the wall. You're just like, oh, look.
Well, some things are hard to move on.
Drink. Sausage.
You know what?
Sausage. I didn't think of that. Oh, look, cheese. What?
You try Festival Foods potato salad and tell me that doesn't take your attention away, right to what's going on. Is what it is. They're good. It's good.
Right till you see the coleslaw. There you go. Yeah. You're going to get whiplash.
Time for another top 5 list on the Inside Wisconsin show presented by UW Platteville. Discover excellence at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. Their renowned engineering and STEM programs offer a cutting-edge environment. And with over 60 majors to choose from, there's always exciting clubs and organizations and fun happening on campus and learning too. Discover why UW Platteville is a smart investment. Apply now. All right, where are we heading? So anytime we talk football or training camp or Packers, I flip my hands over and go, what's the top 5 list this time?
What crazy stuff are you going to talk about? Well, I have strange but true coaching facts from the Green Bay Packers.
Oh.
How do you feel about that?
5 of them?
Well, yeah, dope. It's a top 5.
Just making sure.
Of course, there are always, perhaps room for honorable mentions.
I was going to say, and a 3A and 3B. And
no, because some are easy, right? Like, do you know who the longest serving coach was in Packer history? It's easy.
Lombardi.
God, you're an idiot. No.
A dope and an idiot in one sentence. McCarthy.
He was. Thank you. Yeah, Bart was here 9. The other guy was here 9 years. Lombardi and McCarthy was here 12 and a half-ish before he got canned.
Yeah.
I do find it's amazing that Bart Starr is the second longest tenure. That he coached the second most games. I think the way it's going, LaFleur may eventually pass that, but right now it's not. So anyway, here's number 5, because he's got a statue outside, Vince Lombardi. The time he was hired, there were 45 people on the board of directors. How many people you think voted on the hiring of Vince Lombardi? This again goes to tell you how different the NFL was. 45 guys.
9.
27. 27 showed up to vote.
Wow.
18 didn't. Right. So that's what?
That's
40% that didn't show up. 27 were there. What do you think the vote was? Should we hire this New York Giants assistant coach that nobody knows?
27. So I'm going to go 18-9.
It was 26-1. I would love to know now who the dissenter was and how he felt a decade later.
We should have asked Popkey.
You know,
I feel like he's got that in his file cabinet somewhere.
We should get Cliff Crystal. He'll know this.
Yeah.
So, number 4, Vince Lombardi is third on the Packers all-time win list. Third. Got 89. Still wins highest winning percentage third. Where do you think he ranks on the all-time loss list? No, the Packers have 15 full-time coaches. That's it. He was their 5th full-time coach because twice there's been a little interim thing. So he's third among those 15. Where do you think he is on losses?
7th.
He's 11th. That's how good third in wins, 11th in losses.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, 89, 29, and 4, which makes this one, number 3, even more fun. So he's had, do you know, there are 2 guys that played for him, both in the Hall of Fame, that coached the Packers.
Okay.
Do you know who they are? You know one. We talked about him.
Bart Starr.
And the other one? The guy he said was the finest player he ever coached.
Ooh. So now I'm going to start guessing. You're going to be like, no, you dope. That's not.
Offensive lineman, tackle, Forrest Gregg. Perfect. You're right on it.
Sorry. That was great.
So they had back-to-back, Bart and then followed by Forrest Gregg.
Huh.
2 Hall of Famers that played for Lombardi. In 13 years, now Lombardi was there 9. In 13 years combined, they won 12 fewer games than Lombardi.
Wow.
That's how good he was, and that's how terrible they were.
Jeez.
Yeah, he was 89, 29, and 4. They were 77, 113, and 4. So they tied as many games as him. But yeah, 2 guys that played for him, you'd think, in his
crazy.
Couldn't come close. Can you name the only guy who's been the Packers head coach twice?
Lynn Dickey?
Never coached the Packers. Is Lynn
Who am I
Dickey
thinking of? Lon Fontaine. I don't know his name.
Lindy Infante?
That's it. I knew it
No.
started with an L.
No.
Okay.
Only one man has ever coached them twice.
Who?
Ray Scooter McLean, who in 1948, was it 48? No, in 1953. So the Packers in 53 actually had 3 coaches.
Why?
So they had Gene Ranzani, who they fired with 2 games left, and they made Scooter McLean and Hugh DeVreau co-coaches. They're both listed as coaches in 1953. They went 0-2.
What?
So they had 3 guys that coached them in 1 year in 1953, 2-7-1. So Scooter comes in and he's over 2. But when they need to get a new coach so he stays on as the backfield coach, and they hire him in 1958 for his second stint. This time he's the only coach, and he had the single worst season in Packer history. He went 110-1, 1958. He resigned under pressure.
You think?
And then they hired Lombardi, and then that was the whole different thing. So yeah, but he's the only guy. He's the only guy. He was head coach, which you don't find a lot of guys that go back. Joe Gibbs went back for a second stint. You know, so he's the only guy that ever head coached the Packers twice.
Wow.
And this is the one I think is maybe the most unique one. Curly Lambeau won 6 championships. How many playoff games did he coach? 6 championships. The all-time winner, all-time leader, more than 200 wins with the Packers. All-time coaching wins leader, 6 championships. How many playoff games?
12.
5.
What?
He was 3-2 in 5 playoff games. 6 championships. He was 3-2 in the playoffs.
That doesn't math. The math isn't mathing.
the math does math if it used to back when the championship was conferred on the team with the best record in the league.
Period. No playoffs.
No playoffs.
Interesting.
So Curly Lambeau, 6 championships, and he coached in 5 playoff games. Vince Lombardi at least coached in 10. Lost the first one and won the next 9.
I think it's fascinating that you think to look things up that I would never even think or know that existed.
Now who's the dope?
Me.
This
You?
guy. No, me. Just spending time on that.
We are back, the Inside Wisconsin show. Trevor John and the Packers Director of Public Affairs, Aaron Popkey. So, Aaron, you're on the news and in the public for all the good things, and then also sometimes the bad things. Like, for instance, I think there's something going on with the city of Green Bay and Lambeau Field and a lease or something like that. I don't know. I don't really spend time worrying about that, but you do. So how do you balance the good with the bad? Because I would imagine you get thrown in to the pot with all the different stuff as the person that was the one that told them. So how do you balance that?
Well, I think it's a good question. It's part of the role as PR folks and communications folks. Most often, we're helping our main folks be in a position to talk about those types of things. You know, on the football side, it's working with your coach, your players, your GM, you know, the rest of the staff that are speaking to their jobs and being the public face and engaging the fans through the media or even directly. And then on the business side, we've got, you know, whether it's president, CEO, or some of our VPs and people who work in our different areas, Titletown, Lambeau Field, guest services. You know, we want to make sure our people are in the best position to tell our story and their stories. And as my role has evolved, I have at times served as a spokesperson, and even more so here, I guess, in this part of my career. So yeah, it's part of the role and something I don't mind doing. I feel it's an honor and a privilege to represent the Packers and everything that we stand for. And also when we're doing our business, there are times where there are sometimes topics that are, you know, not all the easy, good stuff and those types of things, but we are a business. We do operate in a highly competitive environment with the National Football League, and our competitors are in the bigger cities who often have more resources, you know, be it through their own operations, or maybe they've got a family or a group of owners that have got tremendous wealth. So sometimes from a business standpoint, we are making decisions that need to be made to operate to the very best of our ability. And there are going to be times where, you know, whether it's our fans or certain segments of our fans, or in the case where you spoke of the city, you know, that it's going to be at odds sometimes with what they may think. And that's okay. That's part of it. I think, you know, what we try and do is tell our story in a straightforward way that is respectful, but sometimes is not, you know, maybe not the easiest part of things to be discussing. So it's, you know, we just try and do it in a respectful way and be honest and be able to, you know, feel we're doing right by the organization and for the right reasons.
So I think of the Packers, and I watch currently what's going on with college football in the SEC, the Big Ten, right? And if those two wanted to, they could steamroll through college football, right? No matter what you think of them, I do think, and I don't know the commissioner of the Big 12 very well, or Big 10, but I know Greg Sankey pretty well, and I do think he's trying to be a good neighbor and think of the greater good. How do you position the Packers with your politicians, your power brokers in there, that and all this community involvement? Like, you're trying to do all these good things, but yet you got to protect the good name. You can't spread yourself too thin. If you wanted to, right, you talk about punching your weight. Well, there's nobody that can punch with the Packers in Green Bay. Like, how do you handle, that's a unique situation with where you are, that you are this behemoth, and yet you still have to kind of be the neighbor to literally the guy across the street who works at Fort Howard, or, you know, the city itself, which is not big compared to New York. How do you position yourself to sort of best you can be the best neighbor for all those competing interests?
Yeah, I think the way you asked that question, you hit on all the things that make us so unique. We are in the National Football League. It's the most popular league in the country. And there are a lot of advantages that come with that. And Packers, it's an anomaly. We joined the league when there were a lot of small teams, but the league scaled back on some of those teams in the smaller cities where it wasn't working out. They recognized that the future was going to be bigger cities. Yet Green Bay, because of the success we had back then, was able to keep ourselves in that league and convinced the leaders of the league at that time that Green Bay still had a place. Then you move forward into the 50s, and guys like George Halas recognized, maybe not because of an altruistic way, but recognized the Packers were a very popular opponent and drew well at the gate. So, we were successful at the right times, and we're able to survive as a team, through the success early on, through the unique relationship we had with our fans. As you know, those first 3 stock offerings literally saved the team from bankruptcy. So, on our proverbial financial deathbed for the first 50 years of our existence. And now we're in this position, and boy, the Lombardi teams came along and had success at the right time as football was getting more popular on TV. And then Pete Rozelle convinced the owners to share revenue. So it worked out all along the way. And now we've got our local assets that are doing well. And Bob Harlan and the team back then said, hey, we need to redo Lambeau to set us on the path for the future. And we've been able to do that. And we're still part of, that big NFL success with national revenue and TV and all those things. But as we were talking a little bit earlier, the local operations are what allow you to really hone in on some of those competitive advantages that you need, or competitive resources. And that's where we need to keep telling that story. And, we need to operate in a way that we're in the big leagues, but yet we still recognize all those things you mentioned for the folks who are in our community and enjoy that we're in the community. It is, as I said, still that anomaly where we're competing in the big leagues, but yet we're in the smallest market by far in pro sports, and we need to be as smart as we can when we operate. And that sometimes means, raising ticket prices. And we've got a demand for our tickets because we've got such a great experience. We've got a successful team on the field, but people love coming to Lambeau. So our demand would tell us, hey, you need to charge more. And we've got people at the NFL, whether it be other owners or NFL, like, hey, you could be driving more revenue out of tickets. And we say, yeah, but, we want to be kind of right in the middle that recognizes where we are from a market. I think we need to be smart with our sponsorships and all those things. I think from a business standpoint, there's opportunities there that we continually take a look at, and we talk about our place in the community. We are fortunate that we're able to give back in so many different ways. Our charity impact is now $13 million a year through our different efforts. Our economic impact on the community, and that's Green Bay, Greater Green Bay, and Brown County and the region and state, is up over $460 million a year. And that's real impact in a region that is so disproportionately positively affected by the Packers. So all those things contribute to being a really special situation here. And, we definitely want to enhance that and be smart about how we do that. And even going back to, the stadium thing, our lease is coming up. So we've been talking about extending that lease. The success of the renovation back in 2003 is that was a $300 million project, a private public project that put us on this next footing. And the Packers, when our locker room project's done this year, Since then, we'll have spent $675 million more to enhance and expand this place, all with no public tax money. So it has really been a success. We tell that story, and we want to invest more in the stadium. But when our lease is up in 32, as a business, we want to have that assurance of control and operations here beyond that lease. These improvements we're putting in now are 20 and 30-year improvements, yet our lease is up in about 7 years. So that's why we want to do that. And we need to do it in a way that continues to allow us to be successful. I think what's most important for everybody, the Packers, the community, our fans, is to keep us in a place that we can be competitive on the field. And we feel that means keeping the resources here as much as possible. We do not have that wealthy owner. Our competitors have ownership groups that are worth billions of dollars, over $10 billion. And some of our competitors are getting new stadiums or renovated stadiums, much like Lambeau, renovated stadiums that are getting hundreds of millions of dollars in public money. And that's money they don't have to spend on the stadium. They can put it in their operations. So every dollar you don't have to put into your stadium, you can put that into your football operations. And again, that's your coaching staff, that's your support staff, that's the technology you give your coaches, that's your facilities, how you travel as a team, the way you can do things for your players and families. I mean, all those things go into a winning program. And we're in a position that we can do that. We just want to be very careful how we move forward to keep ourselves in a position to do that and keep as many of the resources right here at Lambeau. And that's what we had presented in this discussion to extend the lease. And that goes into that whole equation to keep us on a competitive standpoint with our, with the other teams out there.
When's the last time you asked for a raise? I feel like you should probably get more money. There's not anything you don't know. Maybe my question is, when's the last time you got to sit in the bowl with a brat and a beer? Like put on one of those glasses with the funny nose and the mustache and just blend in for a day. Have you ever been able to do that?
Well, a couple things. One, the Packers are really good to our team. We're talking about everybody here. And companies that you all work for and have worked for, that's an important piece. And the Packers are really good in terms of things we do, whether it's just straight out, compensation. And I think they're very fair and how they look at where we are within the community, but also in the NFL. I think we're in a unique business, so you got to treat your employees in that way, unique way there. And you all know this and what you do. I mean, culture is a real thing in organizations, and we spend a lot of time on that. And we've got some really unique coworkers, and all of us are part of it. And the team does ways to make us all feel like each and every one of us are contributing to what goes on the field on game day. So that's a really neat part of what we do. And in my 30 years, that's evolved. Corporate culture, all those things are real things here. And we're really intentional about that. So, the person on second shift setting up the atrium for the next day's events, he or she can feel as much a part of it as, somebody taping an ankle in some ways. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, the game day experience is something we all watch from different ways. And I do make my way around the stadium to whether we have special guests I want to check in on, or even just a new fan amenity, what we were talking about earlier, communicating those things, like whether it's the new concession stands the team invested in to make that experience better, grab and go, those types of things, the enhanced Wi-Fi and cellular that was a focus years ago, to the pyrotechnics, to the halftime, to all those things. We and my team and my colleagues were all part of that, making that experience. So I want to go out and see what people are thinking of it, how they're reacting to things. And I've got family members who come to games, and my kids come to games. And I swear my high school freshman and his buddies that sometimes come to games, They think in-seat service is a real thing when Dad can bring out a couple of bratwursts and some root beers. So I do get to deliver some food when I get an opportunity to sneak away, and I'll stand there and watch the game as a fan. So I do get those moments, even it is delivering food to, I'll call them appreciative high school freshmen.
So maybe you don't get the full, I get to sit and have my chair back and watch the entire game. But did you get a chance on that first round Thursday night of the draft to just let that wash over you at all? Did you get a moment where you're like, okay, I am a citizen of Green Bay and I am watching this, and divorce yourself a little bit from a employee of the Packers and let that whole magnificent night wash over you?
I did. I mean, the whole experience from, well, shoot, the whole process of getting it was, that could be a whole episode. But yeah, I think when we saw it come together and my office overlooks Lombardi, but just down the hall is the east side, and we got to see that campus get built out. It was, I assume you all have fans of Legos, whether you're kids or now, but it was like a Lego set. The NFL and their vendors came in and they laid out all the pieces in the east parking lot, and then they started assembling it. And to have it culminate Thursday night was something really, really special. We were in the parking lot. In fact, Governor Evers was here, Wisconsin Governor Evers, and we were giving him a tour with the NFL. And we were out in the parking lot at noon, walking from one place to the next, that draft theater area up by the stage. And suddenly these guys came sprinting through the parking lot down to the front of the stage. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And then I looked, I'm like, oh, it's noon. The gates opened. So these guys had been lined up at the gates, and you guys know the gates were on the west side, over by Titletown, and that's not a small distance away. And these guys had a mad dash sprint all the way to get up into that front row. So right then I knew, it started. Well, it had been started before then, but just that next stage it started. So fast forward to, the selections being made and the lights and the crowd and the energy. I mean, that's the beauty of sports and the collective energy and interest around an event. And here it is, what, as you guys know, it used to be this selection process that took place in these smoke-filled ballrooms, with chalkboards, and now became this multimedia global showcase. It's just crazy to think that. But I was in a spot up on our fourth floor. We've got these terraces out there that overlook that side of the stadium. So I was up there watching, just soaking in that energy from afar, and what is well known now, that Mark Murphy coming out, and boy, he had a way, just
he milked it.
Delivery, the cadence, the timing,
milked it.
I mean, he nailed it, and I couldn't help but smile, because we had, the NFL, it's a very produced event, from what the commissioner says to what the people making selections say. And the league said, hey, Mark's going to make that, what can we get a sense of what he's going to say? So we worked on, just this real basic script, and it'd be what you would all predict. And then he changed it up a bit. So I was up there and watching, and we had it on a monitor too, so I could see the close-up feed. But then I'm, picture those crowd shots from way back with the whole scene. That I was up watching that, just soaking it in, like you said, letting it wash over. And then I heard what he started to say, and I cocked my head. I'm like, oh, all right, okay, here we go. Let's see. And he just hit it perfectly. And then I saw him later, and I said, Mark, boy, congratulations. That must have been fun. I mean, it was just great the way you were up there, and the crowd loved it. And boy, what a neat moment. And he said, yeah, I got a little nervous and emotional. I had to catch myself. And if you watch closely, you can tell where he had that moment, but walking out and then making the announcement. And then he said, I went a little off script there. And I said, yeah, you did, but you nailed it. That was good.
I would imagine for you that was like, ooh, okay, all right.
Well, yeah, and Mark's got such a nice way about him where he'll do that, but it just flows and it fits, and he's got that sort of persona. And then that was a cool moment, but then, the rest of the draft, I went and walked around and just checked it out and let those things wash over and just experience it as a fan, and just the smiling faces and people engaged in the different activities, whether it was up front and being part of that crowd and seeing the picks. And Saturday morning, we did a bike parade where we invited kids in to ride around the campus. And that was a neat moment. And the commissioner and Mark were part of that. We had some alumni. And I was riding along with the commissioner, and we had this pack of kids. And suddenly we had a golf cart that was kind of leading us through, because we had this path figured out. And, people are getting set up for the next day. This is before the campus opened. And suddenly these kids took off. It was like a Tour de France breakaway. And it was like, whoa. And these kids just boom. And the commissioner looked over and he's like, oh, I guess we're not going fast enough. So there was that moment, but just walking around and smiling faces. And today we just put out the economic impact. And part of that was just how many fans were here from the state and Packers fans. We had a tremendous amount that came from out of state for the first time too. But these people that are familiar with the area, Lambeau, love it. But the people just said, I would stop and ask, hey, how are you enjoying things? And people had great reviews. And then some people would just, whether they knew me or saw me doing an interview, whatever, but they would stop me and say, hey, thank you. I know how hard you and everybody worked to get this here. And boy, this is really something special. And thanks for doing it. So it was moments like that just gave all of us this gratitude for the work that went in, the trust the NFL placed in us to do this thing right, and then just the appreciation of the community. So those were all really neat moments.
It was special for sure. That's for sure. All right, we'll wrap it up with the Director of Public Affairs of the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Popkey. Just a minute. The Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Amplify Health, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Legit Pizza, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
It's officially training camp season, and there are people tailgating for this purpose.
God bless them.
Are those locals, you think, or are they the ones that come in for this out of town and they know how to set up and do their thing kind of like for a game? Because I would never think to go and tailgate for training camp.
No, I think those are probably more of the out of towners a little bit. I think your regular old railbirds are probably, can I just pack a cooler? Right, little backpack cooler, maybe, or a little igloo to come with you. I think that's the way to go for training camp. That's just me. And now even in there, you can throw a few things in there, right? Probably healthy snacks, fruit, nuts. Probably not various cheeses and stuff. But yeah, that's the way I think it would be the best way. It's hot. Let's just go sit, drink beer, and watch guys, run out patterns in the last 2-minute drill section. That's the way I'd go.
That's so funny you talk about packing a cooler. We went over to our old neighbor's house last night to hang out and just visit with them. And Amanda packed a cooler. And we opened the cooler and she goes, hey, just so you know, these are the last 2 Miller Lights I'm like, what? What happened this past week?
You told me supply lines were running thin. What happened?
All you had to do was tip a guy off. I would have made that problem fixed real fast.
I feel like this is like asking, we're going to go to dinner. Do we need to go to the ATM? Because I'm down to my last $17, right?
Exactly.
How do you run the tank down to 2?
I don't know, but I can tell you as of today, it's fixed. Problem's fixed. We're full up.
You're almost on E down there, buddy. We got
To me, that is E. Got to have it. Exciting to have training camp going. A lot of Miller Lite flowing. The Miller Lite logo is uncovered from the NFL draft. All things are right in the world here in Green Bay.
There you go.
Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/inside Wisconsin to find options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Cheers to 50 years of Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
I feel like in your house, you should have like, when you get to E and the red light comes on, like you should have a little red light in your refrigerator or something like we're down to 2, you need to go. Or that should actually, when it gets down to like 4,
Yeah,
that should happen.
I was going to say
Kind of
way before
I
2.
feel like that's a sitting for you, but yeah, somehow you need one of those, the fuel light things. You need a Miller Lite, little red light on your refrigerator. So when we don't have this, because that is perilously close to. That's like Tiger trying to run out of golf balls when he won the U.S. Open there at Pebble Beach by 15. But on Saturday, he hit one into the ocean, and Stevie hadn't given him. You knew that, right?
I think so. They almost ran out of balls. They didn't.
He was down to his last one, teed it up. Like, dude, you hit this one in. I don't care that you're ahead by 12. Game's over. He didn't tell Tiger till he was in the fairway.
Really?
But yeah, he was down to his last ball. Yeah.
Can you reload? No.
No, can't just go jumping in there and go, hey, can you borrow one? No, can't do it. Anyway,
Real
make sure
quick,
this doesn't happen again.
I need your advice. Well, here's one way of just simple yes or no answer. Then we'll get back to Popkey. Should I buy a soda machine for beer in my garage?
No.
Fine. Probably going to do it anyway, Dad. Sorry. Wrapping it up with the Director of Public Affairs of the Green Bay Packers and a Northeast Wisconsin boy at heart. That's Aaron Popkey. And that's my first question here as we kind of wrap it up in the third segment. You grew up here. You went to high school here. Yes, you moved to Madison to go to college, but you've been here ever since. Does the little boy, Aaron Popkey, every so often just go, holy crap, like this is unbelievable. What a career I've had so far.
Yes. Yeah, I think, gratitude, feeling fortunate and honor, privilege, those types of things. Yeah, you're in the day-to-day and your projects and this and that, but yeah, at times you do have a moment where you say, boy, I've been fortunate and really blessed to have had this opportunity and be, I mean, we all hope we do something at some point where you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And the Packers certainly an opportunity to do that, whether it's the football side and how people connect to the team, but some of those things we talked about earlier too, just the opportunity that this organization has, what this means for the community and the really neat stuff that we've been able to do and be a part of. So that's definitely one of those moments.
Last one for me. You're like a Navy SEAL in the state of Wisconsin in that you have information in here that you're never supposed to let come out of here. How do you let it all go? I mean, really, like I think about this. All right, Ed Policy's coming in, right? And there's got to be more plans. The Packers own a lot of land, and I'm certain you know what they are. But how do you curb yourself from wanting to get it all out there? There's a professional side to this, but there's also like if I get told one more secret, I'm gonna pop.
Well, I think that's part of the role. Yeah, there's always confidential information and sometimes maybe call it sensitive information, but I think
proprietary.
Yeah, I think there's a mix. There's a mix of, all right, hey, we've got some really neat stuff that we've got planned, or stuff we know that's gonna get planned, but maybe it's not planned yet, and some of that stuff is there. But it's being excited about the opportunity and trying to convey that. And sometimes it's just simply trying to convey the importance of why we do things and stuff we were talking about earlier, like just, this highly competitive NFL, and the Packers need to be very, very careful. It's one of our past leaders talked about it as a business mind with a Packers heart, and that goes back to, yeah, we need to be competitive. We need to be leading edge, but yet we've got this really unique relationship with this community that we have to keep in mind. It's almost unfair to have to operate that way. Sometimes we need to apologize for things and being so successful, almost apologize, and yet sometimes we're doing it with one arm tied behind our back. So it's a unique place, and part of being appropriate with some of that information is just being excited about things that are going to come, but not in a position to be able to fully share it. But just let people know, hey, we've got things we're working on. It's for good reason. and it's for the best interest of the Packers, which means a part of that's in the best interest of the community too.
I think what we take from that is if you do have proprietary information, don't share it with Trev because he's not going to be able to sit on it. And it's not going to be his way.
Some of that's not as exciting as you think it would.
Doesn't matter. And it's like big or small, he'll tell it all. I think. I don't know who that guy is that does that. So, all right, we're going to run through these. You said you got to the Green Bay and the Packers in '93. They were on the upswing, and you had Reggie White. When you showed up in Madison, that team stunk. How did you get through Badger football the first couple of years you were in Madison?
Oh boy, Don Morton. Well, the Veer offense was something we tried to wrap our arms around, and I'm not necessarily proud to say this, but I was one of those students who cheered we came to see the band.
Oh,
but hey, it was faith, passion. We did what we could to support them, and then along came Barry Alvarez.
There you go. On our way. First Packer game you can remember attending?
Early on, vague memories of kind of getting inside the stadium that first time, where from the outside you're like, what? How does that work? And then you get in, you see it. Just vague kind of general memories like that. But the early memories are the snow game back in the early 80s against Tampa Bay.
Yep.
We back then, our family had tickets and neighbors had tickets, and we would occasionally get to go. That was one of those days where, whether it was business partners or people coming from out of town, they weren't going to make it. So word went out in the neighborhood like, hey, let's go to the game. So we piled a bunch of kids in the station wagon, got stuck a number of times on the way over to the stadium, and got out of the car, pushed the car out of the snow, and we made it. And there were, as you guys know, 20-some thousand fans that day. And so we all piled into the end zone behind the field goal posts like, hey, we can pretty much sit anywhere we want. Let's try and get a football. So we were those kids sitting in the end zone waiting for a ball to come in. So that's a memory. And then my last game here at Lambeau as a fan was 1992, Cincinnati Bengals. A certain player comes in after an injury.
There you go.
By the name of Brett Favre, and leads the team past to Kittrick Taylor. I was there at that game as a fan, had driven up from Madison for the game with a friend of mine, and it was the last game sitting in the stands as a fan. So definitely some neat memories over the years, and through the years of 8-8 being a wonderful year, and those types of things. But to be where we're at, among the winningest teams since the advent of free agency, it's been a fun run.
Are you a Packers stockholder?
I am.
Good. Do you tell people you're from Green Bay or De Pere?
Ooh, depends where I hear where they're from.
Okay.
If it's somebody from Wisconsin or maybe it's a two-part answer. The Green Bay, oh, I'm from Wausau, or okay, I'm from De Pere. Then you get into the granular.
Okay. I'm going to deep into your De Pere then. What is the proper name of Ledgeview Golf Course?
Oh, Mystery Hills.
Thank God somebody knows the answer to that one. Please. Good Lord. Have you ever eaten at Al's Hamburgers down on Washington Street?
Yes.
Fantastic. Favorite Packers player as a kid?
Lynn Dickey. I played quarterback.
Person in the Packers organization you cannot do without?
Well, my colleague, Katie Hermsen.
Very good. Best seat in Lambeau Field?
Ooh. Boy, that's a multiple part answer. I think the 50-yard line has its role. I wouldn't go too high.
Okay.
And if you kind of like trying to get a football in the days before the Nets, now you maybe want to try and get a first row in the end zone to catch a Lambeau leap. boy, that's a hard answer. I don't know if I have a single answer. It depends on what you're angling for that particular game.
This next one's even harder. Can you spell Dominic Olejniczak?
Olejnczzik.
Not quite. You were on a good roll. You were on a good
No,
roll.
I can't.
Olenjn. You were on a good roll. Then it's Iczak. Okay. What was Abbott Penning's given name?
Abbott Pennings himself?
Yeah.
Bernard H. Pennings.
Perfect. Trev, how about that? That's great. By the way, what have they done to your building? Like, it's gone, which is terrible because it was, like, I get it was in De Pere and I'm a Southwest kid, but it was a cool building. How do we? What do they put there?
Well, funny you should ask. I was just there yesterday taking a tour of the new Schneider Family Hall, which is a brand new building, and it houses the St. Edward College Donald Schneider School of Business and Economics. So the Schneider family, very generous, gave some money to get a new building built there. A member of that family, one of Don's kids, went to Abbott Pennings. So there's a tie there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a beautiful new facility, and where they will be teaching sports administration as a major and as an MBA, as a master's.
All right, we'll chalk one up for progress. Best high school nickname: Cadets, Squires, Saguacs, or Tritons?
Oh, Squires, of course.
How do you reconcile that? Because weren't you on the board at Notre Dame? Like, how do you like you got to go to Promontory? Like, I don't even know how you can stomach that.
It was a little weird. I was one of those Squires who, at points was still disappointed they merged the schools. There's still some Squires out there. There's a phrase, once a Squire, always a Squire. But, I was supportive of the new school, understood why it took place. And now the new, well, it's not so new anymore, but Notre Dame's quite an institution with great traditions and in its own right. And when my kids started going to school there and I got asked to consider being on the board, I said, all right, it's time.
All right. Good of you to let it go. Have you ever written for the Dope Sheet?
Yes.
Excellent. Trev, do you ever get the Dope Sheet?
I don't, but I would like to. I think we know a guy.
Well, I don't. He just doesn't know. What's the coolest part of organizing team travel?
Probably, for a guy who didn't work on the football side, it was really one of those you felt like you were really part of a road trip and contributing to the success in that. We all have our ways, but that was something that was kind of a neat part, kind of a thankless role, but learning operations really kind of behind the curtain with whether it's the air charters, the buses, the hotels, all that stuff was a neat experience.
Final one. Did Des Bryant catch the ball?
No.
That is the perfect public affairs.
I always tell people, if he had been in my backyard, that would have been a catch. But he was in the NFL, and it was not. And we don't have any say over that.
That's awesome.
And then I always tell the Cowboy fans also, there were like a minute and a half left or 2 minutes. You don't think Aaron Rodgers was going to go down and break your heart anyway? He did it once with one pass in 12 seconds. So, somehow they're deluded to think that was the case. So actually I have one more. Give my journalism school youngsters who are just starting out, because I know it doesn't always show up. You mentioned kind of in passing the script, the thing. Explain to my students the value of good writing in your job.
It is the basis of all communication. Being able to put your thoughts down, your intentions down on paper in an organized, intentional, meaningful, convincing way is, that gets you on to wherever else you need to go. So it's such a very important basic skill, and maybe some separate time we can talk about the role of AI and all this, but you still need a real person behind that, making sure it's the right thing. And you know, whether it's your own product or helping other people put out their own product, I mean, you still need a thoughtful person behind that.
There you go. Amen. I tell them in AI I said, like, wait, what happened to vanity in life? Like, I want people to know I wrote this. Like, I don't want to sell at the job, right? Like, I totally want it to be like, you know, my kind of thing.
Well, it's I'm sure you tell the students this, but even we still get resumes, and I'll be like, geez, you know, where's the writing part of this? And even now, especially when you've got some ways to help yourself out, it's still, you know, one thing we do, not necessarily off topic, but as we're interviewing people, we give out real-time writing assignments.
Yeah.
You know, we'll do a writing test. It's easy to submit your writing samples and you can, you know, see there's some good stuff there. But we say, hey, we need a press release about this event that's coming up, and it needs to be a full page. Here's your raw materials. Your deadline's in 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially when, the one that at Mizzou that right now I'm pounding on them a little bit about is, and then I also find that maybe I'm a little out of the loop, but at this, they do stuff on resume prep. Okay, cool. So you get the one sheet, but nobody talks about how to write a cover letter. And I'm like, most of these kids are going to come out of school and the resumes are all about the same. They're kind of thin. You haven't done a bunch. Like, you can separate yourself is, how do I write a cover letter that said, I'm the person you need to hire? And you got to be able to write that. And I drill that into my son. And then he's like, Dad, I applied. It's just online. It's just, here's your resume and your tape, and there's no place for it. And I'm like, boy, how do you sort some of those people out? It's really a mystery to me that some of that happens. Anyway, onward and upward. Hey, thanks for your time, man. I know you're busy because we got training camp, and that means, well, we think of football runs, right? Training camp to the Super Bowl. You are like the stadium. You're a year-round guy, and so we appreciate you taking some time to visit with us and give us some insight to the organization and not just the team. We appreciate it, Aaron.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity. Anytime, and thanks for what you all do, talking about the topics you cover, and particularly people around our neck of the woods.
We want you to do a whole lot more than just save money. We want your money to grow, just like your dreams. We want you to achieve financial well-being and the feelings that go along with that. Capital Credit Union, doing the right thing.
I don't think I have that much information in my head in total about all the things, let alone just the Green Bay Packers. It's so impressive to listen to.
You got a lot. You got a lot going on, though, because you're raising teenage boys, and that takes up a lot of space.
Man, does it?
Oh,
Jeepers.
So usually I give you trouble sometimes about this, and like, how can you not know that? But in your case, there's a lot of space up there that's spoken for, and a lot of gray matter, a lot of synapses going off on that kind of thing. But listen, when you're there 32 years, right, and he talks about it, telling the story, you learn the story, and you know it, and you live it every day. But again, he really is those guys, because every player eventually leaves, right? But there's always 53 on the roster, and the G's always out front. And that's what he does, and that's why we can go wherever we want to in this country and a lot of places in the world. And when they go, oh, you're from Green Bay, oh, the Packers, right? Like, that's what that guy does. He's responsible for a lot of that. He and Vince Lombardi.
Yeah, and everybody in between.
Yeah.
So he's a Green Bay kid. You're a Green Bay kid. Speaking of, I want to mention this to you before the John Wisconsin segment. You and I toured your high school. I don't know if you saw this, but the high school at Southwest, the gym does not look like your gym anymore. It is getting completely revamped. I'll send you the link after we get done recording. But yeah, I saw it right before we jumped on today that Southwest High School is getting a facelift in the gym area. Pretty impressive. All new paint and all new batting cages going in there and all sorts of different stuff.
I had heard that my grade school, that Kennedy Grade School was going to be redone. That they were, because of the way the population shifts and fewer students, that they were taking MacArthur, forget the other one, and Kennedy, and they're consolidating them. They're going to kind of redo the school there on. This could be totally fair. I think Graham Audrey told me this, and they're going to redo the footprint. Graham Audrey's a real person, by the way. It's not
Yeah,
an actual. So they go. Andy's a dude, but I think Graham Audrey is telling me that they're gonna name it like Bart Starr Elementary School.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which would be great, because then I'll be like, well, I went to place, my grade school is now Bart Starr, and then I went to Lombardi Junior High, and my high school was on Packerland. But other than that, Green Bay, the Packers aren't that big a deal in town.
It's crazy. Yeah, right.
Get through. So,
what's new in the world of John, Wisconsin this episode?
Well, so I'm down here in South Carolina, and I don't know if I told you, came off the plane late at night, like 3:30 in the morning because of delays. And so the next thing, I'm like, I got to run. I got to shake this out of me, right? I got to get the plane off me. And somewhere in between like mile 3 and 4, I jacked up my back.
Ugh.
So I've been down here like 3 weeks, and I've hit 10 golf balls.
Oh,
I know. I'm dying just to try to go to the range. And so it made me think of the old military golf driving range. You ever heard of that? Do you know where that was? It was honestly on military. It wasn't like an Army Navy thing. And it was
I feel
just,
like I have. Yeah.
it was on North Military. It was down like you're driving towards Velp, and it was across the street from, well, the right-hand side of the street, right, is like Perkins Park, and you go down a little farther is Fort Howard Cemetery. So it was just over there. And it was just, it had a miniature golf course, and it had a driving range. And like, I'm thinking, talk about the best parts of my summer, as much as I love to play golf. And, so we used to go to military and get a bucket of balls, right? And my brother would be like, you didn't have to hit them all in 3 minutes. Like it's not a race.
Guilty of that.
see how quick you could go. And we play. Like, so that was, but it was such a treat to go down there. And it's made me think of this the other day when I'm like, God, I just want to go hit balls, right? Like it's the same thing. I'm like, what a treat if I could just go hit balls, even though physically I'm sore. And I just thought, what a treat it was back then. And so here I'm at Kiawah Island. They have the ocean course, which is lovely, and they've played majors there. And for just the low sum of $400, you can go play it. And I just think, so I was thinking about my back, and I just want to go back. I would love to play. I would like to go hit a bucket of balls again over at the military driving range. And you went in, by the way, in the clubhouse too, and they had pictures of all Jerry Tagey in Nebraska, whoever the guy ran it was a big Nebraska scorer. And then what I really want to do, and so when we come home next time, right? Because last time we went, you're like, let's go to Green Bay Country Club because you're hoity-toity, and that's the way you are. And
I just wanted to serve you. It wasn't me.
I want to go back and play Village Greens. Village Green. I say greens, it's not plural, Village Green. Because that is like, if anybody goes like, do you have a home course? I'm like, I think maybe when I was a kid, I had Village Green, and I could play for, once in a while we'd go to county. Grandma Audrey and I played county a lot because you'd go downtown and get the kids junior pass and pay for like $6. But we played Village Green, God knows how many times. And so I was sitting there and I think, okay, I'm just writing down John Wilson Village. And I'm like, what can I remember Village Green? I'm like, I can. Par 4 down over the loop, par 4 back up towards the clubhouse, par 4 down, little dog leg right, par 4 over the water twice, par 3 over the water. There's a pond, if you go way left, you're in Duck Creek. Number 6 is a par 4 back up the hill. Again, a little par 3 is number 7, is a little bad, maybe it's 130-ish par 4. And then it ends with 2 long par 5s. One's about 500 downhill, and then the big loader, 550 all the way up the hill. And I'm like, so I literally went to bed last night playing the golf course in my head over and over again, this 9-hole course. And I did. I'm like, I can remember every hole again and again. I could probably tell you every best shot I ever hit in the thing. Number 6, that big long par 4 is about 400 yards coming up. It had a tree right in the middle of the fairway, giant tree. It's been since removed. But I just want to come back, right? Because there are all these great courses now, right? Oh, you go to Erin Hills, they've played the Open. We can go to any of the Kohler ones, the Bull, name them, the Bull, Century. I really want to come back. We got to go play Village Green.
I'd like that.
Because I owe that thing. Like, I don't know that I've ever broken 50 there. And I feel like now I can finally break 50 at Village Green. So
take a guess, unless you looked and you know this answer, but I'm just you qualify for the senior green fees.
Okay? Yeah, $18.
Oh, you already looked it up.
For 9 holes, 29 for mine. Oh yeah, I know.
Hey, 10 for no 10. Senior green fees. Oh yeah, 18 and 29.
Yeah. No, I went because I went back and I'm like, okay, now do I have the layout right? And I'm like, totally. I can still see it.
Power
Mhm.
card, or you walking?
I'm walking and I don't do pull cards. I don't. I refuse to do a pull card. I don't want to play with people that play left-handed, and I don't want to play with people who have pull cards.
What's wrong with left-handed?
Just God should have drowned him at birth. By the way, Colin plays left-handed.
Okay, good. I was like, geez.
And oh, by the way, I started out playing golf left-handed. I don't
That's
know
a different John Wisconsin, I think.
Yeah. Here's your bonus, John Wisconsin.
Bonus.
I when I learned that, because I bat left, I throw left. I don't know if you knew that. I throw left-handed. I threw out the first pitch of the game. You saw that. I throw left-handed. I bat left-handed. I play tennis right-handed. I bowl left-handed. I do a little thing. I kick with my left foot. So I played left-handed because that's what they gave me. But when I was a kid, they were hard to come by, right? Left-handed clubs. And I was going to play one summer. I used to always go to my grandmother and grandfather's, and there's a little 9-hole Hampton Country Club. I'd like to go tear that place up again too. But I had outgrown my clubs, so I had to go get new ones. So I went down to Terry Frisch's, the Golf Shack, and they were going to cost like $50 extra. And at this point, I was 12-ish, and so I had to put some of my own money towards it, right? Some of my allowance money and lawn mowing money. And they were going to take 2 weeks to get there. And I was leaving, and the guy's like, "Listen, you can turn around. If you're left-handed, that's always good." And so I turned around. So the first 4 or 5 years I played left-handed. And then I switched when I was 12, 13. I've played right-handed ever since.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just on a whim. Like, yeah, you know what? Too expensive. I'm
just turned, and I don't know that it's ever helped because I still can't play a lick. But I did have a great guy named Johnny Bulla who won the Arizona Open like 8 times and was second at the British Open. And he was older. Johnny was 80 when I met him down in Phoenix. And he'd just give lessons out at this old place called Ocotillo. And he was great fun. And he actually coached Annika Sorenstam some. He's really a legendary pro. And he said, "Come on out, I'll give you a lesson." And I hit like 8 balls. And he said, how come you don't hit left-handed? And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, clearly you're left-handed." I'm like, "How do you know?" He goes, "It's kind of the way you take it back and then the part in your hair." And he goes, "Yeah, you're a left-handed kid." That's the kind of the savant this guy was.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, so maybe that's it. I should let's go play Village Green, and I'll play it left-handed, and I still won't break 50 then.
Challenging.
All right. Too much information. Enjoy, brother. Good to see you again.
As you were, Wisconsin.